leaving out for work for another morning. It's cold, freezing cold. But I'm happy to be alive. It's another beautiful day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Even though it's so cold and snowy and slippery, icy, it's still beautiful. The sun is out. Everything looks pretty. And I'm going to show it to you while you listen to this podcast and I drive to work. As usual.
That the more available you are, the more valuable you must be. That if you answer every call, respond to every message, show up to every gathering, and bend for every favor, then somehow that makes you more loved, more respected, more important. But let me tell you something that most people learn the hard way. Constant availability is not a sign of strength. It's not a badge of honor. It's a slow drain of your energy, your focus, and your purpose. Because the truth is, if you're always available, you start becoming invisible. You fade into the background of other people's lives while forgetting to show up in your own. Being valuable is about quality, not quantity. It's about depth, not just presence. It's about understanding that your time, your energy, your wisdom, they are not infinite. They are sacred. And what's sacred shouldn't be tossed around like it's disposable. Because when you make yourself too easy to reach, too easy to borrow, too easy to interrupt, people start taking your presence for granted. They start assuming you'll always be there, always ready, always saying yes. And before you know it, your days are spent living in reaction to other people's plans, while your dreams sit in the corner collecting dust. You've got to make a decision. Are you going to be everyone's emergency contact, or are you going to be the architect of your destiny? Are you going to be stretched thin, trying to keep everyone else happy, or are you going to pull back and focus on building something meaningful with your life? Because let me tell you, being valuable means learning the power of no. It means understanding that boundaries are not walls. They're doors that you control. You choose who comes in. You choose how much access they get. You choose what you give and when. Stop thinking that being busy makes you important. Stop thinking that being constantly on call means you're loved. Real love respects your limits. Real respect honors your time. And real success requires solitude, discipline, and focused energy, not being available to everyone all the time. If you want to build something that lasts, you've got to protect your energy like it's currency. Because it is. Your attention, your focus, those are your most valuable assets. And if you're spending them on things that don't feed your purpose, then don't be surprised when you wake up exhausted, uninspired, and unfulfilled. You've got to stop being so easy to get. Start being rare. Start being deliberate. Let your presence mean something. Don't just show up because you were invited. Show up because it aligns with who you are and where you're going. People should feel it when you walk in the room, not because you're loud or flashy, but because your energy has been preserved, protected, and sharpened. Your presence should carry weight, not be scattered all over the place. That's what makes you valuable. And yes, some people won't like it when you pull back. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you're distant. They'll say you're selfish. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand. Because their discomfort with your growth is not your responsibility. Your job is not to be liked by everyone. Your job is to be aligned with your purpose. Your job is to fulfill the assignment that was put on your life, not to fulfill everybody's expectations. You have a calling, and that calling requires your full attention. It requires you to be intentional with your time, ruthless with your boundaries, and unapologetic about your priorities. You can't be everything to everyone and still have energy left to be something to yourself. You can't keep pouring out while never getting filled. That's not service. That's self-neglect. So if you want to be truly valuable, learn to be selective. Learn to say, not now. Learn to say, I can't make it. Learn to say, this doesn't serve me right now. Not from a place of arrogance, but from a place of awareness. Awareness of who you are, what you're building, and where you're headed. Because the most powerful people in the world aren't the ones who say yes to everything. They're the ones who know exactly when to say no. They're the ones who know that every yes is a trade. Every time you say yes to someone else's urgency, you might be saying no to your own goals. Every time you jump to answer someone else's call, you might be silencing the voice inside of you, trying to guide you toward purpose. Being valuable is not about popularity. It's about impact. It's about being remembered for something meaningful. It's about leaving behind more than exhaustion and burned out memories. It's about standing firm in who you are, even when it means disappointing people who are used to having all of you for free. People will try to guilt you into staying accessible. They'll throw words at you like, you've changed, or you're not there like you used to be. And you know what? Ones who block off sacred time to think, to build, to rest, to refuel. Because burnout is real. And burnout doesn't happen when you do too much of what you love. It happens when you do too much of what drains you. You're not here to be everything to everyone. You're not a 24/7 hotline. You're not an emotional dumping ground. You're a human being with purpose, with value, with limited time. And you've got to start acting like it. The most successful people you see, they're not always the smartest. They're not always the most talented. But they are disciplined with their energy. They are unavailable to distractions. They say no to almost everything, so they can say yes to what matters most. That's the kind of focus it takes to win. That's the kind of mindset that creates legacies. And don't think for 1 second that being less available makes you cold. No, what makes you cold is being so overextended that you become numb. What makes you cold is always saying yes, while resentment quietly builds inside you. What makes you cold is giving so much of yourself that there's nothing left to give to the person who matters most, you. So if you want to reclaim your time, reclaim your joy, reclaim your clarity, start here. Be valuable, not available. Don't pick up every time the phone rings. Don't show up to every event. Don't feel guilty for saying not this time. You're allowed to be unavailable while you heal. You're allowed to be unavailable while you focus. You're allowed to be unavailable while you build. This is not the season to be everywhere. This is the season to be effective, to move in silence, to create without distraction, to prioritize peace over popularity, because popularity fades, but peace builds foundation. Popularity fades, but purpose stands eternal. When people know you'll always say yes, they stop seeing it as a gift and start treating it like a guarantee. When they know they can always reach you, they stop appreciating your presence. But when you pull back, when you create space, when you become intentional with your time, suddenly your presence becomes powerful. Your time becomes meaningful. Your yes becomes valuable. You've got to shift the energy. You've got to train people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. Stop overgiving and calling it kindness. Stop overextending and calling it loyalty. Stop confusing exhaustion for achievement. You're not here to impress the world. You're here to impact it. You've been tricked into thinking that self-sacrifice is noble, when in reality, unchecked self-sacrifice becomes self-destruction. You keep burning yourself out just to keep others warm. But who's lighting the fire for you? You keep showing up, giving out, pouring into everyone. But who's pouring into you? That's not loyalty. That's leaking. That's not service. That's self-abandonment. And it ends today. Because value doesn't beg. Value doesn't chase. Value doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. Value knows that its worth is not up for debate. When you walk in alignment with your worth, your energy becomes a magnet. You don't need to fight for space, you create it. You don't need to compete, you just continue. Continue building, continue focusing, continue evolving. Now let me tell you something they won't teach you in school, and most people won't tell you in life. If you want to be valuable, you've got to get comfortable with being misunderstood. Not everyone's going to get it. Not everyone's going to clap for your boundaries. Not everyone's going to appreciate the version of you that chooses growth over people pleasing. But that's okay. Growth is lonely. Elevation is uncomfortable. And purpose often requires isolation before it brings revelation. You've got to learn to say, I'm not available for that. And you don't have to explain. You don't have to over-justify. You don't owe a 3-paragraph message about why you're choosing your peace today. Because if someone requires you to destroy yourself in order to please them, that's not a relationship. That's manipulation. And you weren't born to be manipulated. You were born to be mighty. The deeper your value, the more selective your presence becomes. You don't see CEOs answering every call. You don't see world-class athletes stopping their training to explain themselves to critics. You don't see legends wasting time arguing on social media. Why? Because they've learned this principle. Energy is a resource. Spend it wisely. You don't need to be rude to be unavailable. You don't need to cut people off with anger. You just need to decide that your life matters enough to stop giving it away to every little distraction, every emotional vampire, every drama-filled situation that adds no value and leaves you drained. This is your wake-up call. Start guarding your mornings. Start protecting your nights. Start turning off the noise. Not because you're better than anyone, but because you're finally focused on being better for yourself. Let people think what they want. Let them say what they say. Because at the end of the day, they don't pay your bills, they don't fight your battles, and they won't build your legacy. That's on you. So what if they don't understand? So what if they say you've changed? That's the point. You were never supposed to stay the same. You were supposed to evolve. You were supposed to elevate. And elevation always creates separation. But don't let that scare you. Let it shape you. It's time you stopped making yourself so easy to reach. When you do show up, it shifts the atmosphere. Not because you're trying to prove anything, but because you've done the inner work. You've cleared the clutter. You've removed the chaos. You've chosen alignment. And remember this, when you become unavailable to the nonsense, you become available to the next level. When you say no to distractions, you say yes to destiny. When you stop engaging with things that drain you, you make space for what develops you. And that's where the magic happens. The next season of your life will not require more availability. It will require more focus. It will require more boundaries. It will require more silence. It will require more rest. Because your value is not in your hustle. It's in your clarity. It's in your decisions. It's in your ability to say, this is who I am.